What's going on, everybody? Golden Blue Dude, aka GBD, back with you, bragging rights. And yes, I've been away for a couple of weeks. I had to take some time off. We had some bad weather and some things going on in the family. So, had to take a little mini break, but I'm back. I'm ready to go. I don't want to go on unless I know that I'm going to give you guys a good show. So, I was ready. I knew I was prepared to give you guys a good show today. So I was like, you know what? Time to come back. So here we go. We're going to come back strong and we're going to talk about a few things. The first thing I want to talk about, it's going to be college football. I know it's a long ways away. But one thing, if you don't know me by now, one thing is I am obsessed with college football. So I don't care if the season starts tomorrow. I don't care if the season ended yesterday. There's always time and there's always a reason to talk about college football. It's always relevant. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, college football. So first off, I'm going to jump right into it, okay? Playoff predictions. I know, sounds nuts, but there's a method to my madness, all right? So playoff predictions. We all know that Alabama ran roughshod through the college football playoffs again, won the national championship, and possibly had one of the best teams ever. And what do they do? Well, so far, they've had the best recruiting class ranking of all time, not just of this year, of all time. So it seems like the rich get richer. Can't say my words right. The rich get richer. There we go. Not so fast. Not this coming year. There's always an adjustment period. Look, Alabama dominated last year. No doubt about that. But they don't win the national championship every year. They don't get to the national championship every year. They don't even make the playoffs every year. Are they dominant? Yes. But I don't think this is going to be anywhere close to what it was last year. So, having said that, here are my 4 picks to go to the college football playoffs. First team, Oklahoma. Yes, they're in the Big 12, so I think their path to the playoffs relatively easier than the SEC team. So I have Oklahoma going. Why? Because they returned Spencer Rattler. They did lose their running back, Stevenson, but Kennedy Brooks, he's coming back. That offense is going to be loaded. And guess what? Oklahoma actually has a defense. Their defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, made it look easy. Like, it almost made me forget that Oklahoma didn't have a defense before him. Trust me, I remember now. But watching the season, I was like, man, Oklahoma has a good defense. So they're going to have a good offense, and they're going to have a good defense, and schedule very, very manageable. They even get Iowa State at home. Question is, can they break that 2-game losing streak to Kansas State? I think so. I think they're just way too good, and that might factor in as far as mind game goes, but Oklahoma will be far and away the best team in the Big 12. The only team that could even come remotely close would be Iowa State. Iowa State does return a lot of starters, but Oklahoma, my first pick. Second pick, Georgia. Why? Offense. If you go back and look at the stats last year, the teams that made the playoffs, none of them had a top 10 defense. Not a single one. But if you look at the offenses, 3 of the 4 had a top 10 offense. The only one that did not have a top 10 offense, Notre Dame. And we all know what happened to Notre Dame. They got kicked into oblivion just like we knew they would. So it is all about offense. That old saying, defense wins championships, that saying is obsolete. Last year proved it. 3 of the 4 had top 10 offenses, except Notre Dame. They got obliterated. None of the teams had a top 10 defense. So it is all about the offense, and that's why I'm picking Georgia to make the playoffs. They return everybody. JT Daniels announced he's coming back. They have George Pickens coming back, Kyrus Jackson, Dominic Blaylock, Zamir White, Darnell Washington, Jermaine Burton. The list goes on. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen will be back. Georgia is going to beat Clemson in the first game, and they're going to make it to the playoffs. I don't know if I want to go as far as to say they're going to go undefeated, but that schedule looks very, very doable. The only question to me is, will Kirby Smart coach them out of an undefeated season? That's the only thing I'm scared of. They have the talent. I'm just hoping the coaching doesn't screw it up. Next team, Clemson. Yes, I do have Clemson losing to Georgia, but guess what? They play in the ACC, and that young offense will gel together and will be amazing by the end of the year. They return 10 starters on defense, so they'll be good on defense. They will hold the fort while that offense is gelling and coming together. The ACC schedule allows that to happen. By the end of the year, they will play North Carolina in the ACC championship, and they will win in a close game, and they will get into the playoffs. The last team, Alabama. I actually have Alabama kind of backing into the playoffs, and I'm not even 100% confident about that. I just couldn't figure out what other team I was confident enough to put in that 4th spot. So I reluctantly put Alabama in that 4th spot. Guys, y'all got to realize they lost quarterback Mac Jones, running back Najee Harris, wide receiver Jalen Waddle, Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver Devontae Smith. They lost way too much on offense. Alabama's going to be fine on defense. But what did I say at the beginning? Offense is what wins championship these days. So that's what's making me kind of reluctant to pick Alabama to go to the playoffs. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt because Alabama is Alabama. So I'll give them that last spot and have them backing their way into the playoffs. So having said that, let's look at the week 0 or week 1, whatever you want to call it. Those first games that are going to be important. The first game, the only reason I'm mentioning it is because it's my team, West Virginia. West Virginia at Maryland. Probably going to be a good game. Maryland's getting better and better, but West Virginia's defense is legit. We return pretty much everybody on offense. I expect West Virginia to win that game by 10, maybe 2 touchdowns. On to the next game. LSU, UCLA. Underrated game. That's going to be a good game. LSU, of course, they're recruiting very, very well. I expect them to have a bounce back year, but Chip Kelly has UCLA headed in the right direction as well. So that's going to be an underrated game. If LSU slips up and loses to UCLA right off the bat, oh, man. Could be a rough year for the Tigers, who are expected to be very, very good in the SEC West. So, yes, that is an important game for both teams. After that, Louisiana and Texas. I fully expect Louisiana to beat Texas. I do. They return everybody, and their coach is great. Bill Napier, he's amazing, and he says he's committed to Louisiana. Levi Lewis, their quarterback, man, that dude is a baller. He can pass, but he can also run. And guess what? He is going to run all over Texas, just like he ran all over Iowa State last year. So I'm confident in that one. Louisiana will beat Texas. The game after that, Notre Dame, Florida State. Notre Dame loses a lot, but they get transfers from Wisconsin. The defense will be back. That could be a good game, but I'm going to take Notre Dame in a close game. I was tempted to pick Florida State because they're recruiting really, really well, and Mike Norvell is he's coaching his boys up, but can't do it. I'm going to pick Notre Dame by that much. Shootout, Ole Miss versus Louisville. Both these teams going to be on the rise. I think Ole Miss could be challenging for that second spot in the SEC West. It'll be between Ole Miss and Texas A&M, possibly LSU, depending on if they can have it come together. But that will be a shootout. Ole Miss, Louisville, probably going to come down to whoever has the ball last. That's all I can say about that. After that, Penn State, Wisconsin. To me, this could be a preview of the Big Ten Championship. I expect Ohio State to take a step back. I expect Michigan to be Michigan. Who does that leave? Penn State. Penn State could be the surprise out of the Big Ten East. And Wisconsin will be by far and away the best team in the Big Ten West. Really, the only team that I could see challenging Wisconsin in the Big Ten West would be Iowa. No Northwestern. They lost way too much. They relied too much on defense last year. And with the full schedule out this year, Northwestern will get run down. And oh, yeah, their starting quarterback, who is average at best, transferred. Northwestern will not be what we saw last year. It will be Wisconsin. Iowa might scare them. That's why I think Penn State versus Wisconsin could be a preview of the Big Ten Championship. But in this one, I'm going to take Wisconsin because it's in the Jump Around House. It's at Madison. And, yeah, I'll take Wisconsin in that one. Alabama, Miami. There's actually some people that have Miami winning this game. Until they can prove that they can actually beat somebody, I'm going to have to take Alabama. Am I saying that Miami can't win this game? Of course I'm not saying that. They can. They actually can. They have the talent. But Alabama has the coaching. Alabama has the recruiting. So until I see something that really pops out to me, I'm taking Alabama. And then finally, Clemson versus Georgia. This could be one of the – no, not could be. This will be one of the most important games in college football in 2021. It will set the tone. Personally, I expect Georgia to win this game. Why? Because they have all them dogs on offense coming back. Experience. That's what's going to win this ball game. Clemson, they'll have an experienced defense. Don't get me wrong. But the offense of Georgia is going to be – I'm going to go ahead and call it. I think Georgia will have the best offense in the SEC. This is going to be a very entertaining game. Could turn into a shootout. In fact, I fully expect it to turn into a shootout. And I think Georgia has the dogs to win a shootout this year. They might prove me wrong, and Kirby Smart might coach them right out of a great win. We'll see. But as far as judging talent versus talent, I'm going to take Georgia over Clemson, and it'll probably be an upset. That's fine with me. The closer this game comes around, if I'm really, really confident, I might actually put some money on it if Clemson is still the favorite. That's how locked in on Georgia I am this year. So there you go. There's my playoff predictions and my quick peek into the Week 0, Week 1 games of the college football season. Up next, I have a special guest from the NBS Central brand. I have Keo, my boy. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? I'm back, man. Man, I'm feeling myself right now, man. Yesterday we were able to do MBS. We had MBS. Let's talk about it with the new member on the show, Saray. Shout out to her. Shout out to the whole team. I know the whole MBS, man. We're going through, certain things right now, but I've been able to hold it down. But I was like, man, you know what? I enjoyed last night's show so much. I'm going to come on MBS bragging rights and crash the party. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm crashing MBS bragging rights. Hey, GBD, good to see you back, man. And it's always good to be on MBS bragging rights.
Woo. Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Every time you've been on this show, man, you've always brought something. I love bouncing stuff off of you and getting a different perspectives for certain things. So I'm pretty excited to have you on here. This next thing that we're going to talk about is college football. March Madness is almost here, man. And
you mean college basketball?
What'd I say?
You said college football.
Man, my brain was still on football. Basketball, college basketball, March Madness. Thank you for pointing that out. That was a big blunder right there. But anyways, college basketball, bubble teams, number 1 seeds. Now, whenever we talked about this earlier, I went back and, dude, I'm telling you, there is a lot of bubble teams. So what I did was for this week, next week I'll probably revisit this because there's so many bubble teams. But for this week, I picked out my bubble teams for the Power 5 conferences. And there's still a good bit I don't know what teams you picked out or wanted to talk about, but I'm just letting you know. For me, I'm going to talk about the Power Five bubble teams. What do you got for me?
Okay, so I'll start off with my teams that's on the bubble right now. I can't believe that I'm saying this. Out of all the years I've been covering college basketball and March Madness, and that's one of my favorite sporting events I like to cover, March Madness. Man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but North Carolina is on the bubble, man.
Firmly on the
North,
bubble.
yeah, um, they're on the bubble right now. North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, the Blue Bloods, they are not. They probably wouldn't have having one of their worst seasons ever, man. I don't know what's going on down in Blue Bloods country, but it's not good. But I have North Carolina on the bubble right now. Um, um, the good thing about North Carolina that I can say that they don't have any bad losses, so that's actually a good thing for them. Another team that's on the bubble that I see, and since you mentioned Power Five conferences, I'm gonna go to the Big Ten. Indiana, I think that's a team that's on the bubble right now.
Yep.
I think Indiana they gotta squeeze out some good quality wins, especially like powerhouses like the way Ohio State and Michigan's been playing right now. So
yeah,
that's a team on the bubble. And one more team that's on the bubble. They're not part of any Power Five conferences, but I like the way this team's been playing, and I'm gonna say Seton Hall, man, from the Big
yep.
East. Seton Hall, a very underrated team in the Big East, just based off of the conference that they play. They don't get enough recognition, but that's a team that's definitely on the bubble. Notable mentions, somebody like a Connecticut or even a Utah State. Those are teams on the bubble also. So that's who I got so far going into this week in college basketball of who I have on the bubble.
Yeah, like I said, man, there's a lot of teams on the bubble. So I went through the Power Five conferences, and North Carolina, you're right on the money, man. So for the ACC, dude, they actually don't have that many locks. They have Virginia, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Louisville. I guess I'll say they're a lock, and Clemson. That's it. Other than that, that's not a lot for the ACC. UNC is on the bubble. They're 13-7, sixth in the ACC. They actually, I know you said they didn't have any bad losses, but they actually have two bad losses, man. They have a loss at NC State and at Georgia Tech. And the real head scratcher is they don't have any big wins. That's a problem. They need to grab some big wins before March Madness gets here, or their bubble is going to pop, and they're going to be on the outside looking in. The other team in the ACC that's on the bubble is Syracuse. They're 12-6, seventh in the ACC. Their bad losses was to the same team. They lost to Pitt twice, and that's a bad loss. But they do have a big win, Virginia Tech, and they've won 5 out of their last 7. So I think Syracuse might do what Syracuse does, get in as a 8 or 9 seed and get to the Sweet 16. It happens almost every single year. You have any bubble teams for the Big 12?
Big 12? No, I don't. I don't have any bubble teams for the Big 12.
There's only one, and they're actually trending in the right direction. The locks for the Big 12 right now is Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas, and Texas Tech. The Big 12 is going to get more teams in than the ACC, and they have far less teams. Think about that. So the team that's on the bubble that's close to being a lock is Oklahoma State. They are 14-6, seventh in the Big 12. No bad losses, none. And they have big wins at Texas Tech, Kansas, and Texas. I think it's almost safe to say that Oklahoma State might be headed towards that lock position. They're looking really, really good right now. As far as the Big Ten goes, they actually have 4 bubble teams: Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana, Minnesota. Out of those 4, the one that's in the best shape is either Indiana or Purdue. The thing with Indiana is they do have some good wins. They beat Iowa twice and they beat Minnesota. And the reason that's a good win is because Minnesota is also a bubble team. I think Purdue's in a little bit better shape. They're 14-8, sixth in the Big Ten. Only one bad loss, and that was at Miami of Florida. But good wins. Liberty, yes, Liberty's a good team. That's a good win. And they beat Ohio State twice. And they beat Indiana, who I just mentioned they're in a competition with. And they beat Minnesota, who's also a bubble team. So out of all those four, Purdue is in the best shape. But Indiana's not far behind, and they have a chance to get some good wins. That's the key, getting some good wins. What about the last two conferences? The SEC and the Pac-12. I know you're over there in Pac-12 country. Any talk about bubble teams in the Pac-12?
Pac-12. Man. I don't really have any bubble teams in the Pac-12. Also, like I can make an argument, but I'm just not confident to say that they're a bubble team right now. Like the ones that I named, I just honestly feel like they are a bubble team right now going into this week in college basketball.
Well, how about this? You give me a name, and I'll let you know. How about that?
Okay, let's go to let's go to Washington.
Washington?
Yes.
You cut out there for a second. Did you say Washington?
Yeah, I said Washington.
Yeah, Washington, they were a bubble team for a while, but they had this bad losing streak. So I don't see them recovering from that. But your girls' team, Stanford, they are a bubble team, believe it or not. They're actually 13-8, fifth in the Pac-12. A couple bad losses, but check this out. Stanford, one of their big wins is Alabama. And Alabama is first in the SEC right now. So that's a great win for Stanford. Arizona, I know Arizona's banned from postseason. That's still a good win. And then UCLA, well, actually, they beat Arizona twice. So Stanford's in good shape. Oregon's on the bubble. Not as good resume. And then the locks for the Pac-12, USC, UCLA, and Colorado. And like I said earlier, Arizona, they would actually be on their way in if they weren't banned. But Arizona's banned. And then the last conference I'm going to talk about is the SEC. Their locks, Alabama, who Stanford beat. That's a great win for Stanford. Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, and Missouri. And the bubble teams, Florida, they're 10-6, fifth in SEC. Man, they got some bad losses, man, though. I can't figure Florida out. They lost to South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Kentucky. We know how bad Kentucky is, but big wins. LSU, number 6, Tennessee, Georgia, and then my team, number 11, West Virginia. When I watched that game, what am I watching? West Virginia was the better team, but they got some good wins. The next team, Ole Miss, 12-8, fifth in the SEC. No bad losses. Got some good wins. They got one against number 11 Tennessee and number 10 Missouri. They're on a 4-game win streak. If they keep that going, Missouri will be in. And then the last team, Georgia. The problem with Georgia is they're ninth in the SEC. The record's not that bad, 13-8. That's not bad. But they're ninth in the SEC. And they got some bad losses. Mississippi State, Auburn, at South Carolina. And then their big wins, they swept Ole Miss, the team I just talked about, and then beat number 20, Missouri. And they've won 4 out of their last 6. So that cleared up nothing, man, because these bubble teams all over the place, and you can't tell what they're going to do from one thing to the next. The Blue Bloods are a mess. Kentucky and Duke are 100% going to miss the big dance. North Carolina's hanging by a thread, but Kansas, they're actually doing pretty well right now. But the last Blue Blood, Arizona, they will be banned. I forgot about UCLA though; they're going to make it too. But Arizona banned. So the Blue Bloods, we're having a rough season, man. They're having a rough season. So yeah, bubble teams are they're all over the place. So they're not clearing anything up on a week to week basis, other than they're still a bubble team. That's about it. So this next topic, I
I,
under
I, I wanted I wanted I wanted to add something to that really quick.
go ahead.
Um, I, with the SEC, I think that's the conference that you could say that could. They got a lot of borderline teams that could make it to the tournament, or are just not going to get any considerations at all. So I mean,
Yep.
there's a good amount of bubble teams on there when you talk about the SEC, like teams like Missouri, teams like Mississippi,
Yep.
like you mentioned Georgia. It's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this pans out for teams in the SEC. Um, but you look if you look at the standings, man. If you look at the teams that's on top of the standings in the SEC, this looks like a college football standing. Well,
Yep.
except Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas is pretty well, but you look at Alabama and LSU.
Yep.
They're on the top of the standings, and Florida ain't far that behind. So I think the SEC is up for grabs in college basketball right now of who's going to win this conference because
Yep.
it's neck and neck between these teams. They're not far apart as far as games in the standings goes to win the SEC. So I think it's going to be pretty close with all these teams.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. If there's any conference that you could label them the bubble conference, it would definitely be the SEC. They're beating up on each other. They're giving each other good wins and bad losses. You don't know what's going to happen next. You have resume builders and resume killers, and every week it's something different. That was a very good point, and you are 100% right. Especially with Alabama being in first place, that definitely looks like a college football standing. Arkansas, not so much, but Alabama, LSU, yeah, that definitely is reminiscent of college football. So I know you're pretty excited about this last topic we're going to talk about, and that's going to be the WWE Elimination
Wait,
Chamber
wait,
match.
wait! We forgot about the number one seeds.
Oh man, we did, man. I even had it lined up. I even had it lined up too, man, right in front of my face. Well, who's your number one seeds?
Okay, number one seeds from what I've seen so far in college basketball is pretty easy to me. It's Gonzaga, number one. The two all American scores with Drew Timmy, Corey Kispert, and then the freshman. I think he's my favorite player on the team, Jalen Suggs. Definitely
Yeah.
number one seed. You got I think I'm gonna take Baylor as a number one seed also. Baylor's been playing really well throughout the season. Michigan, I have them as the
Yeah.
number one seed. Also, shout out to Coach Juwan Howard for build the way he built this team.
Yep.
And then last but not least, I originally had Villanova on there, but just the
What?
way this team yeah, but just the way this team has been playing, I'm gonna put Ohio State as the number one seed.
Dude, you literally stole my thunder. I hope that I was hoping that last number one seed was going to be a surprise. I was hoping you would pick like Houston or Villanova. You know what? I'm just going to agree with you because that's who I had. I have Gonzaga. They're 20 something and undefeated. They're going to dance right into the big dance undefeated. Nobody will challenge them in the West Coast Conference. They actually have some really good wins at the beginning of the season. A lot of people complain about their schedule in the West Coast Conference, which I understand that. But if you go back at the beginning of their schedule, they beat some pretty good teams, including my team, West Virginia. Of course, I have Baylor. They're 17-0. They are having COVID issues, but when they were playing, they looked really, really stout, and we missed a great potential precursor to the national championship with Baylor and Gonzaga. They were supposed to play each other, but that game got canceled. Hopefully, Baylor gets it together and gets these cases or tracings down, and they can get back to playing basketball. I'm just wondering how cold these players are going to be and how their conditioning are. Still have them as a number one seed. Michigan, I have them as a number one seed. They are the best in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten is pretty stinking good. So, yes, I have to have Michigan at 14-1 as a number one seed. And I was going to try to surprise you, but you already said it. My last number one seed is going to be Ohio State. I thought maybe perhaps that, you'd pick Houston because they have 2 less losses. But we all know Houston plays in the AAC and they lost to East Carolina. You can't do that if you're a number one seed. That is a bad, bad, bad loss. So I don't care that they're 17-2. They play in the AAC and they lost to East Carolina. So that bumped them out. And I'm putting Ohio State. And Ohio State is really hot right now. The last time I checked, they have won 6 straight games. So they could get hot right into the big dance.
Yeah, one thing about Ohio State is they got one of the best resumes in the country right now, man.
Yes.
And I know how good Gonzaga is with their All-Americans. I know how good Michigan is and how they've been dominant, but Ohio State, man, you cannot play with this team, man. Led by Dwayne Washington Jr., EJ Liddell. Man, this team, when it comes to threes, nobody shoots the three better than this team. They're shooting close to 50% right now. That's what they average right now. And Ohio State is clicking on all cylinders right now. If I'm any team that's the top teams right now in the country right now, teams like a Gonzaga, like a Michigan, like a Baylor, even a Virginia, man, I would be scared to play against Ohio State because they have a great resume and they just could kill you off that 3-point jump shot, man, and they do it really well. So that's what I just want to say about Ohio State. But man, North Carolina, Kentucky, Duke, man, it just doesn't feel right without those teams not in the tournament, man. It's like, damn, man.
Well, at least, I mean, Kansas, they're bouncing back in a big way, and honestly, I think UCLA will make the dance. So I'm pretty excited about UCLA because I'm old. I don't know about our viewers, but I'm barely old enough to remember some UCLA glory days. So that brings back some nostalgia to see the Bruins back in the dance, and I do think they will make it. So at least we have 2 out of the 6 Blue Bloods that will be in there. Arizona would have made it, but they're banned. So it's all up to Kansas and UCLA. We'll see what happens, though. I don't know, man. It's a crazy year, man. But, I mean, what were we expecting, After what we saw in college football, what were we expecting in college basketball? It hasn't let us down, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, since this next thing, and I've already botched it anyways, since this next thing is one of your favorite things to talk about, and it's one of mine too, I'm going to let you introduce it.
All right, man. So usually when I come in on the show, we do talk some wrestling, man. I love me some wrestling, some WWE, NXT, AEW, even the old school wrestling, man. So,
yep.
And Chris is a huge wrestling fan also. So, with that being said, we're gonna talk about the Elimination Chamber. Road to WrestleMania stops here at the Elimination Chamber. We got some huge matches on the card. So, man, what we're gonna do? We're gonna give our predictions, our Elimination Chamber predictions. So, Let's start it off, man. So let's start off with our very first matchup that's on the card. Um, so based off of what if you guys been watching Monday Night Raw with the storyline between Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans, Lacey Evans is scheduled to get a title shot for the Raw Women's title against the champion Asuka. But this past week, Lacey Evans just announced that, hey, Charlotte, you can't fight me because I'm pregnant. So what does that mean? Does that match still go on? Do they have a replacement for her? So I'm not sure what's gonna happen though, man. I don't think Lacey Evans is gonna be in this match. I really don't.
They could put in Charlotte Flair, right?
Yeah, but going by Lacey Evans versus Asuka, I'm taking Asuka to win this match, man. I like Asuka, and I think she's going to continue her reign.
I just think Asuka's been too dominant, and she has too many moves in her arsenal. Lacey Evans, she's a very strong, powerful woman, and she has knockout power with that women's right. But Asuka, man, she's a high flyer. She bounces off the ropes. She'll jump on you. She'll hit you with everything she got, and she's been a great champion too. So yeah, I'm going to take Asuka, and I think to be honest with you, she should be the favorite because she's got that almost MMA type of arsenal with her. So I like her fighting style. I think she has the upper hand.
All right. Next matchup we're gonna go to. It's for the United States title. It's a triple threat match. It's Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle.
That is very, very interesting. So, first of all, it depends on, if MVP gets involved. I mean, if he gets involved and doesn't get caught and plays those underhanded tricks, then Bobby Lashley, of course, has the upper hand. But if we're going straight by talent versus talent, honestly, I like Keith Lee. For a big man, this guy is very, very mobile. And when he hits you hard, and it is devastating. Matt Riddle does have that MMA background, legit. But I just like Keith Lee's combination of power and agility. And I love his attitude and his arrogance. I know a lot of people don't like arrogance, but you got to have confidence to some degree. I don't even think it is arrogance. I just think it's a lot of confidence, and a lot of people just take it as arrogance. But the dude is legit. He has some great, powerful moves. He can move around the ring like a cruiserweight. The dude is a real deal. I think he is a future Hall of Famer. I know I'm saying it really, really early in his career, WWE career, but this guy is legit, and I'm going to say he should have the upper hand. I'm going to pick him to win. It just depends on if MVP gets involved. I just flat out don't like Bobby Lashley ever since he joined forces with MVP.
When it comes to wrestling, it's a numbers game, and it is going to definitely be a numbers game in this matchup. And that's why I am taking Bobby Lashley to win this match. I think MVP is going to stick his nose in this match, and it's just going to help Bobby Lashley out in this match. And they're gonna take advantage of it, man. So I got Bob Lashley to win this match.
But what about, you do have Keith Lee and Matt Riddle also, so it almost could turn into a tag team dynamic. I don't think they're necessarily outnumbered if Keith Lee and Matt Riddle coexist, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So there you go. Work together, neutralize MVP, and then have a clean triple threat. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping for a clean triple threat. If MVP gets involved, whatever. Somebody keep Bobby Lashley, occupied, and then the other person, take out MVP. That's what I'm hoping for. But with the WWE writers, you never know what's going to happen.
Yep, you're right. All right, let's go to our very next matchup, and this is where the elimination chamber starts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the WWE Championship, which is on Raw, and Drew McIntyre will defend it against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Kofi Kingston. Who wins this?
One phrase. RKO out of nowhere. That's why I'm gonna take Randy Orton. That's I don't know, and it also depends on the order on which these guys are released because people don't realize they're not just it's not a battle royale. It's two people start and people stay in their pods, and then the next person is released, and then the next person released. So that's going to play a factor into it. I don't know the order in which they're going to be released, but he just has that RKO that he can hit, out of any move, out of anywhere. And I think Randy Orton is due for a championship again. So I'm going to take the Viper.
I am not going to take the Viper in this match. I think the Viper has more issues than just an elimination chamber match. He has Alexa Bliss to deal with. I don't know if you've seen what happened at Raw. Alexa Bliss cost him that match.
Yep.
Because that match was a gauntlet match, and basically the winner would come in last in the elimination chamber out of their pod, so that would have been huge for him.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. Alexa Bliss been sending a lot of threats to him, playing these mind games, talking about the Fiend's going to be resurrected. And I think that Orton has his hands full. I don't think he's going to win this matchup. I honestly think Drew McIntyre is going to retain his title, man. Drew McIntyre will find a way to retain this title some way, somehow. Drew McIntyre, he's been pulling, he's been making miracles happen, and I think he'll make another miracle happen. And I got Drew McIntyre to win this match.
Well, you know what? You got me thinking after that. Now it makes sense. I think I know what's going to happen now. So what's going to happen is now they're going to write Randy Orton into a storyline with the Fiend. So you got me. I am taking back Randy Orton. Out of all the competitors in there, now I am the most sure that he will be the one to not win it. So out of the other competitors, Kofi Kingston, not going to happen. Sheamus, legitimate threat, but I don't think they're ready to hand him the belt yet. Jeff Hardy, I don't know. I think it comes down to Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles. And right now, Drew McIntyre has so much momentum. And I do think the WWE wants McIntyre to be the champion going into WrestleMania. So I am actually going to agree with you and take Drew McIntyre. If Randy Orton wins this, I'm going to be very, very mad at you.
He won't. I'll be surprised if he does win it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Let's go to our final matchup.
Man.
And we have for the Universal title. So this is crazy. Thanks to Paul Heyman because of this. His little idea.
This is crazy.
So basically, the winner of the Elimination Chamber match that same night is gonna face Roman Reigns for the Universal title. So
wait. So the winner doesn't win the title. They just win a chance to wrestle for the title.
Yeah, fight a healthy.
Son of a baby.
That's crazy though, you fight a healthy Roman Reigns with Roman Reigns is gonna have a huge advantage because these dudes, they're all gonna be beaten and battered in this match. So I just don't like this for them. So in this match, we got Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, King Corbin, King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Well, out of all those, the one that I would want to win is Kevin Owens. Um, I think that would be a smart move on the WWE to give him the belt. The last time he had the belt, he did very, very well. I think he looked really good with the belt. But what does WWE think? That's what you really have to ask yourself. And to me, so we have Roman Reigns, right? So the best opponent for Roman Reigns probably would be either King Corbin or Daniel Bryan. So out of those two, I'll probably have to go with. I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan because, if I'm not mistaken, Roman Reigns he's still a heel right now, right?
Yeah, he still is.
All right, so they're going to want a babyface heel matchup, not a heel versus heel. So I'm going to take Daniel Bryan.
I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens in this matchup. I don't think this feud. I think this feud is far from over, and I think they're gonna continue with this feud because in their last matchup, it was probably one of the best matchups I've seen.
Yeah,
The last time these guys fought, and I think Kevin Owens gonna take this one, man.
I actually hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong on that one. I just don't know because the WWE has been reluctant to put the belt on Kevin Owens. But now that you said that, just because he wins the Elimination Chamber doesn't mean they're going to put the belt on him. And that would be a good match. So Kevin Owens does make sense. Not that he would actually win the belt from Roman Reigns, but he would win the opportunity to wrestle Roman Reigns. So what you say makes sense, man. I'm not going to switch. I'm going to stay with Daniel Bryan, but honestly, I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope I'm right also.
Yeah.
All right, man. So that's it. That's our official predictions for the Elimination Chamber road
Is that
to
on
WrestleMania.
Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday on pay-per-view or on the WWE Network if you guys have it. So make sure you go tune in, check it out. I'll definitely be tuning in and checking out Elimination Chamber, man. You know, you got no football, maybe some basketball games that's going to be playing during that day.
Yep.
But I'm going to be watching me some Elimination Chamber, and you
All
should
right.
too.
Before we get off here, man, real quick. So when we get back on here next Thursday and we do this show, I want you to come back on, even if it's just at the end of the show, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna recap what happened at the Elimination Chamber, see how our picks worked out, and then what's the next pay-per-view after Elimination Chamber?
I think the next one is it's going to be WrestleMania.
Okay, great. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't for sure. So we'll recap WrestleMania, and then we'll start talking about WrestleMania. It is screw the Super Bowl. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. WrestleMania is the event of all events. It has surpassed the Super Bowl. It gets more in attendance. It gets more in views. There is no debating. WrestleMania is the king. So we're going to build it up. We're going to recap the Elimination Chamber, and we're going to start talking about WrestleMania. Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah. I'll be ready.
All right, man. Well, have your picks ready, and we'll see who's right next week, all right? And then we'll start working on WrestleMania.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Well, I appreciate my boy Keo coming on. I love having him on, bouncing off things. I enjoy doing the show by myself, but whenever I have him with me, I don't know, it brings some type of energy, so I always appreciate it. I appreciate y'all for hanging in there with me. I know I was off for 2 weeks. I had some issues, collecting my thoughts. Had a great show. I appreciate you sticking by me, and we will be back next week, Thursday night, for Bragging Rights. Hope y'all have a great week. We'll see you next time.